Hello again everybody. So in this video we're going to be replacing the brake fluid in the front braking system. Now this is something that should be done fairly regularly, sort of once every couple of years or so, purely because just like other fluids and things on vehicles, brake fluid tends to break down over time and become, well, less efficient at its job basically. So obviously I'm going to be doing this on my bike, the Suzuki Van, but the actual principle is pretty much the same for most braking systems, both on bikes and cars. Anything that's got basically a disc brake, it's the same sort of thing. So what we're going to be using for this, I do have a brake bleeder kit type thing here, which is effectively just a vacuum pump attached to a container. Now I'm going to be using this to get rid of some of the old fluid from the top here. I'm not going to use it to bleed it down the bottom because it's easier to do it in a different way, which I'll show you guys in a bit. Also, you don't actually need this. The only thing you really need is just some good silicone tubing and a correct size spanner. This is an 8mm for my particular application, and then I'm going to need a screwdriver to undo the cap at the top there, and of course your new brake fluid. Now, very important to make sure that you get the correct brake fluid for your vehicle. Now mine specifically says .4, which is what this is, so there we go, but obviously check your service manual. Now this is one of the rare occasions where I'm actually going to deviate slightly from what the service manual says, because the official service manual recommends that you basically pump all of the old fluid out of the system before putting the new fluid in, which effectively adds loads of air into the system. So I'm actually going to do it a slightly different way. What we're actually going to do is use the new fluid to chase the old fluid out, and therefore not introduce any air into the system at all, which will make our lives easier, because otherwise we have to bleed all the air out of the system, and it's just it can be a bit of a pain in the arse basically. So this is just a slightly easier way of doing it. So the next thing we want to do is make sure that our motorcycle is on level ground on a centre stand, or in my case a paddock stand, and then just turn your handlebars so that your brake fluid reservoir is level. Quite often they're at a slight angle or whatever, so it might not necessarily be that your bike is dead straight to have this in that position, because if I straighten my bars, you can see it's actually off at a slight angle. So by straightening them, by turning them a bit, I get that on level like that. So I'm going to pop this cap off, which is just these two Phillips screws here. Obviously being careful not to strip them or anything. Okie dokie. Take those out, and then once again we have our trusty magnetic dish, and we're just going to pop this reservoir cap off, which in my case is on there fairly tight because it's not been done for a while. Right, let's see if that does the trick actually. Oh, there we go. Whee, careful. Right. Put that back in place. Okay. So inside your reservoir, you've got this rubber thingy here. Now what this basically does, so let's take this out. So you'll see that it's collapsed and it's got the ability to push out, like so, and then go back in again. I'll give that a clean in a minute. So what this basically does is, as you pump the brakes, as the fluid goes down, this then also goes down with it. But instead of, because normally, if you imagine, obviously as the fluid goes down it needs to be replaced by something, and without this it would be replaced by air, which you don't want in the system. So what this does is basically, as the fluid goes down, this goes down with it, and the air goes into this part, not where your fluid is. So that's what that's for. Let's just take that out. Let's just give that a look. It's actually That's actually okay. So what we're going to do now, we'll put that in there. Now there's several ways you can do this. Obviously if you don't have a vacuum pump thing, you can suck it out by other means, but obviously whatever you do, don't get this stuff in your mouth. That's the last thing you want. Now what we basically want to do is drain most of this, but not all of it, most of this out. We don't want to drain all of it out because again that will introduce air into the system and that's not what we want. So we're going to drain it down until it's basically close to the bottom. Now some cylinders are different. Mine has the hole right at the bottom, so I can drain it quite far without introducing any air into the system. Others have it going in at the side, so basically you just want to make sure that you don't drain it below the level of this pipe. So let's get this in there. So just come around so I've got the light. There we go. Let's suck this down. Okay, right, that'll do. Right, let's put this down over here for a minute. Okay, so you can see I've drained it pretty much most of the way down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use fresh fluid. We're going to fill this up, and then we're going to bleed it down. So we're going to use the new fluid to push this old fluid out. And then we're going to repeat that process about three times. So that will be enough to push the old fluid out through this pipe and out of the system. So what we'll do, grab our new fluid. Excellent. Okie dokie. And we're just going to top this up like so, and then pop the cap back on that. We're going to take our rubber piece here, make sure there's nothing on that. There we go. And we're going to pop that back into position, so because as I mentioned earlier we don't want this to be sucking in any air, so I'm going to pop that in there like that. So another thing that's a good idea, particularly if you've got a more expensive motorcycle, is just to put something over the tank and things like that. Modern brake fluid doesn't actually corrode paintwork, or it shouldn't do at least, but you know, if you're particularly worried about it, you can always cover the bike up or any bits that you don't want to get this stuff on, because you know, as careful as you are, there's always the chance you might you know, spill a little bit somewhere, so it's always good to have a bit of insurance. In my case I don't mind so much, because I've already had several accidents on this bike and it seems absolutely fine. So, well, when I say accidents, I've spilled stuff on it. Right, so now we've done that, we come down here and we're going to need, where are we at? There she is, spanner. We need the spanner and our container here, and then see which one of these fits. So if we come down to the brakes, see we've got the bleed nipple here, and there should be a rubber cap on it. If it hasn't got a rubber cap on it, I highly recommend getting one, because this stops all the crap from the road getting on there and seizing this thing up. So let's just check that. Okay, let's check. Okay, no, that's fine as it is. Right, so that. So what you want to do is get a container, get a bit of rubber piping, not rubber, sorry, silicone piping, push it over the nipple like so, and then with your spanner, now ideally what you should have is a ring spanner like this, have it over like that, and then put this pipe over. The issue with my one is this is the only 8mm that I've got. It's a ratchet spanner, so it'll only go one way and then it won't do the other. So this isn't the ideal way of doing it, but it'll do for now. So what we want to do is you're going to pump your brake lever a couple of times, and then you're going to hold it firm, and you're going to undo this valve, and as you undo the valve you're going to keep hold of that lever so that it basically goes and touches the grip and don't let go. So let's undo that like so. See? So I'm keeping hold of the lever, and now, still keeping hold of the lever, I'm going to do this back up, and now we can let the lever out again. Now I can pump it a few times, and then again do the same thing, hold it, okay, and tighten, let it go, and we're going to keep doing this until basically all of that fluid has gone through. Not all of it obviously, because we don't want to introduce air into the system, but basically until it's down to the level we had it before. So whilst you're doing this, just periodically keep an eye on this, check it to make sure we've still got fluid in the system. So again, just where are we at? That way. That's it. And tighten. Right, let's just have a little look in here and see how much fluid we've got. Okay, yep, so there's still a decent amount in there, so we will keep going. Okay, that's it. Okay guys, so you can see that we've now drained it to the level that we had it before. So I'm now going to top that back up again and repeat the process. I'm going to do this 2 more times, so I've done it 3 times in total. And then on the once I've drained it for the 3rd time, I'm going to fill it back up again, and then that'll be it. So let's get that done. Okay guys, so I've just finished draining the 3rd cylinder full of brake fluid. You see we've still got a little bit left in the bottom. So now all that's left is just to top that up to the level. And then dropping some of course. Okie dokie. Just a tiny bit more. Oh, there we go. Spilled a little bit there, but that's fine. That's what the rags are for. Okay, right. So now we simply put this back on there, like so, and then grab our cap, put that back on like so. Let's just make sure everything's in place as it should be. Just make sure this is seated properly, because this has got like ridges in here that sit inside of this, so that's it. Perfect. Right. Then it's just a case of putting these screws back in. Okay, and then it's always a good idea just to grab a bit of brake cleaner, just give everything a quick going over. So we'll just give that a bit of a clean. There we go. That's it. See any other bits where I might have got go. And then finally, I've got a little rubber bung, put that back on there. Well, actually, before we do that, just give this a bit of a pump, make sure that nothing's coming out where it shouldn't be. No, everything's done up, so we'll put that back on there, like so. Give it one last little clean up. Clean up of the floor whilst we're at it. Okay, there we have it. So now the last thing to do, I'm just going to take the bike off the stand. Move that out of the way. So the last thing is just to check the brakes are working properly. So we've got free rolling, we're not getting caught up on anything. When I pull the brakes, just give the brake lever a bit of a pump just to make sure that there's no spongy feeling in the brake. If the brake feels spongy, then you've got air in the system and you're going to have to bleed that out. The bleeding method is basically exactly the same as what we've just done. Effectively, that's what we've done. We've bled the system through, but what we've done is bled it through using the new fluid to chase out the old fluid, rather than trying to chase air out of the system, because I just feel that that's an easier way of doing it. You might disagree, but from my experience, that's just a bit easier than introducing a load of air into the system and then pumping all of that out. But my brakes feel exactly as they should. The bike is stopping exactly as it should. So that is job done. Let's put that back on its stand. So there we go, guys. It's a very simple job, but certainly one that's definitely worth doing, because, as I say, I mean, maintenance of your braking system is probably one of the most important things on the bike. It is what lets you stop after all, so, you know, there you go. As always, if this video was useful to you, please do give it a like, go check out my other videos, and please, if you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel. And for now, I'll catch you guys again soon.